Welcome to Coffee with Chris and Merlin. Well, he doesn't get coffee, he just gets treats. And we look at whatever's going on in the internet, tech, photography, whatever I find that's interesting. And anything interesting that I find, anything that I share right now will be a Raindrop link, which will be in the description of this video. I've been using Raindrop as a way to organize what I find online so that I can present it in this show. So first thing I want to touch on, I just recently put out a video on this channel about looking at the crazy price of computers these days. If you want to build a new computer now, it's absolutely mental. A couple of the components have gone through the roof, specifically RAM and SSDs. And as much as I can't deal with the cringe that is Linus Tech tips, his presentation style is definitely not my forte. I'm more of a gamer's nexus, dry, too much information type of presenter. But Linus has got a video out which is called Stop Wasting Money on Fancy RAM. And the long and short of it is that actually, as long as you don't buy the normal basic, like lowest spec of DDR5, actually the performance difference is negligible across most tasks. Especially on AMD CPUs, there's a little bit of a difference on Intel CPUs. But generally speaking, if you buy like the 6000 speed, rather than having to go way up into the high end of the kind of RAM speeds, it's for the most part a waste of money. So even then I was having a look around and I can see you can get about 48 gigabytes of DDR5 6000 for around £450–500, which is still pretty crazy, but just worth knowing actually that there's an artist like this going on now, because what they're kind of saying in their video is that the value proposition have changed. In the past they've said if it's £30 for an additional 5% of performance, that's not bad. If it's multiple hundreds of pounds for that performance, it's just not worth it. So just stick with the 6000 speed. I'll also mention as well, I'm still on grind coffee at the moment, but I've changed my recipe up to 20 grams in, 40 grams out. And it's decent. I really do need to look at some local roasting places though, so I can get a bit of a nicer roast in. You don't care about the coffee, do you, Merlin? He's very transfixed by what's on here. A bunch of new Samsung products are now up for pre-order since the last episode, and we briefly touched on in the last episode about the privacy screen stuff, and so the actual version is released now, and I'll put some little videos on screen now of a couple of the different features, but the privacy screen actually does work how it was leaked, which people are surprised by. Individual pixels can now be turned into sort of privacy mode, which I have to say I'm pretty interested in that feature. I like the idea of it, just being able to sort of blank out when your messaging app notifications pop up and stuff. That sounds pretty good. But I do wonder whether, like I said in the last video, whether that sort of stuff will come to the fold or not. Sometimes some of these things like the anti-reflectivity screen, which has actually been reduced on this new model, is now more reflective on the screen, but it's got the privacy feature, so a little step back, a little step forward. There is though as well a really cool horizon lock mode, which I'll put a little video up here from MBKHD, which is pretty fun. Now it's only 1080p, but it's incredible stabilisation. You can like toss the phone up and do little 360s, and it manages to keep it sort of locked to the horizon, which is pretty impressive. Recently I've been trying to do a video on the Z6 III and a 28mm lens, and I was trying to do some vlogging with that, and the stability wasn't great because I'm used to the Osmo Pocket 3, though this is on another level. But again, it's just 1080p, which can be fine as long as the quality's high enough. 1080p, you know, I was at one point recording 1080p on this. I've gone back to 4K so that I can zoom in if I want to on this guy's face. So a lot of the rest of the phone is pretty much the same though. And interestingly, there's the Samsung Galaxy Buds Pro 4. Now I'm using the Pro 3 currently, and they're really good. What I tend to do is when the new versions come out, I give my old versions to my wife because she tends to lose hers over time. In fact, she just found her, I don't know which version they are, but she found an old version that was lost down the back of the bed. And all the reviews that are coming in so far is that Buds 4 Pro are really good, and the sound quality is great. And I will say the Buds 3 Pro, I've had them for a couple of years now. Yeah, so the Buds 3 Pro came out in July 2024. So I have had them a couple of years now, and they were still going strong. There's a very occasional issue where the contact points where the buds drop into the case don't always meet up correctly now after a couple of years of use. The price doesn't seem to have changed that much really. The original RRP for the Buds 3 Pro was $250, and it's about $250 these new ones. And there's a deal with PayPal where you can get £30 off if you pre-order them and use PayPal at checkout. So I think I'm going to do that and get a new set of buds for while I'm out walking the dog and stuff. So just on to sort of AI things I've seen while I've been out and about. One is there's an article here on the New Scientist which talks about leading AI just always goes straight for the nuclear option. In lots of scenarios, it just can't stop. Yeah, so 95% of the simulate games, at least one tactical nuclear weapon was deployed by the AI models. The nuclear taboo doesn't seem to be as powerful for machines as it is for users, humans. No model ever chose to fully accommodate an opponent or surrender, regardless of how badly they were losing. At best, the models opted to temporarily reduce their level of violence. They also made mistakes in the fog of war. Accidents happened in 86% of the conflicts, with an action escalating higher than the AI intended to based on its reasoning. So there's a great article. Again, look at the Raindrop, link in the description for that one there. And chatting with some friends about this, and if you ever played like Supreme Commander or Total Annihilation, there would be a nuke on the way from the AI in Shaw's Order in those games as well. The other thing that I found interesting is there's a lot of competition hotting up in the sort of AI product space. So I've been using Perplexity Pro for a little while now. I get that free with Revolut Metal. Revolut Metal is an okay product. There's kind of value there if you play chess, which I used to and I don't. You get NordVPN with it and a few other things. And one of the things you get is access to Perplexity Pro. There has been some controversy with Perplexity where apparently it's been downgrading the models that it uses, but it has access to a whole bunch of different them. So I've been using Claude Sonnet 4.6 for a lot of stuff that I've been doing at the moment. But they're launching this thing called Computer, which apparently brings together 19 AI models into one system. And it looks like you can link a bunch of your accounts to it as well. So potentially you could link a whole bunch of different services together and you give it a task to do and off it goes. And it's agentic AI essentially. The thing is, to have access to Computer right now, you need the nearly $200 a month subscription, which is outrageous. I'm not paying that much money. Christ alive. But it is apparently going to come free to free. It's going to come to the Pro models in the coming weeks. So once that happens, I'll have a look at it and see if there's anything cool that you can do with it. There's interesting ideas around this. The main thing I use AI for myself at the moment is this YouTube channel is a one dog band. He can't help a whole lot with the editing of videos or editorial guidelines or anything. No. So it's mostly me making videos and then it takes a lot of time to rewatch them. So people who made InShot make a video to MP3 converter, and then there's a service online called TurboScribe. So I can do my first draft of the video, export it to an MP3, transcribe it into text, and then put it into Perplexity, into Claude or Grok. And I can get them to critique, have I made any big mistakes? Am I waffling too long? Which, yeah, I do. So I'm not using it for any sort of crazy stuff, and I have used it to make little small coding projects in the past because I'm not a developer. So it'd be interesting to see, is there anything interesting I can do with this Computer functionality if it does in fact come to Pro models? But yeah, interesting developments happening in that space. Yes, while I'm here, it's worth quickly. TurboScribe is very good. You get 3 transcriptions a day for free, which for my use is way more than enough. I don't know how the guy monetizes it. Maybe he does have a lot of people paying for the subscription, but it's pretty fast, it's pretty accurate, and it's well worth using. If you're looking for something to sort of turn a whole bunch of voice notes into text, go for it. TurboScribe, again, a link is in the Raindrop thing. It's incredible. Yeah, it's good. But yeah, it's a relatively short episode this week. There's a few interesting things that I found around the place. I've not found any new incremental games, I'm afraid. In fact, I found a big Reddit thread, which I'm working through to see if any of them are particularly good. So stick around for next week. I appreciate if you are watching this and you enjoy it, hit the old like button and subscribe button. He definitely appreciates it, as do I. That's it. But yeah, just a short episode. If there's anything particular in this episode that you like or you want to hear more about, drop it in the comments and I'll make sure to include more content like that in the future. But otherwise, thank you for watching.